Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Is Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan. And as promised, we can now talk about the Eagles UDFA signings, their undrafted free agent signings, because they're official. The Eagles released them. We know who's in. We know who's not in. As we have said many, many times, and it happened again this cycle, there's just a lot of misinformation in those frenetic 48 to 72 hours after the draft. You think guys are signing, then they're not. Then there's like three other teams that are mentioned with. But they did not only have UDFA signings, but also tryouts that they had over the weekend at their rookie camp, Adam. So I'm, excited to go through this list of names and we'll get through it.
We'll go inside each guy, what we know. You always remember it's most, if not all, will not make it to the regular season. And you hope they only signed 9 players, by the way, one of the smaller UDFA classes in the NFL this year. You hope that they can get to training camp, first of all. You hope that they do well in OTAs well enough that they can get to training camp. Now, understand, since they signed, they're part of the 90-man roster, so they're under contract. So you would think they would get to training camp unless they just don't look right, unless they feel like they didn't perform at all. They won't bring them there.
Right.
But it's always interesting, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes, when a team signs a tryout player. And they did sign one of them, which we'll get to in a minute. But again, this is a small class, 1, 2, 3, 5 on offense and just 4 on defense that they signed.
Right. Recent history suggests that there will probably be one of these guys that makes a team, because last year it was Gabe Hall, right, from Baylor.
Yep, paid him a lot of money.
And
Yep.
When I say make the team, either end up on the 53 or practice squad. Well, some of these guys made practice squad, yeah, but Gabe Hall had made the initial 53, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, I don't. I'll double check. I don't think so. I'm pretty certain he was just a practice squad guy.
I thought he was one of those guys that made it for like a week and then they kind of pulled the switcheroo, but I could be wrong on that. But in the past, Josh Jobe, Eli Ricks, we know TJ Edwards, of all
Britton Covey.
Yeah. Yep. So history suggests there could be one. It's very rare you get 2 or more, but sometimes that happens as well. But we're going to be the ones to tell you who the most likely guys are if there's going to be 1 or 2 guys to make this 53 or to stick on for a while. But before we get into that, I just want to repeat how last week I thought we had the draft and the post-draft covered really well. We had some really good interviews that you should check out if you haven't yet. We spoke with Campbell, the first-round pick, whose name is just flown out of my – Jahad Campbell. I pronounced it correctly. Jahad Campbell. I finally got it. Yeah, we spoke with his high school coach from Timber Creek right here in South Jersey. His name was Brian Wright. He was really awesome. Gave us some really great stories. Had it up on the podcast and the main platform. Adam did an awesome interview with a friend of our show. It's former Eagles athletic trainer Aaron Borgman, who really has his own now. He's got a couple of jobs he dropped on you there, but he's obviously a former athletic trainer who has his own athletic training business, and he gave Adam the rundown on Campbell with the shoulders and what that's like coming back from the labrum surgery, and Drew Makuba's playing weight, and just some really other interesting stories about his times with the Eagles, Adam. That was a really good interview you did.
Yeah, he sent me an update. He just wanted to clarify something. So Brandon Graham definitely had the ACL surgery, but he didn't have the ACL and patella tendon. What he forgot, it was actually, he was thinking Nate Allen, because Nate Allen got hurt in BG's first year. Nate Allen suffered the torn patella. I was at that game at MetLife in 2010. Nate got hurt and he never was the same. But he sent over that clarification. But he told us one of the times that he was on with us before about rehabbing BG and how well he came back from it, obviously.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, same draft. Graham was the first-round pick, and Nate Allen was the second-round pick of that.
Yeah. Nate was the second rounder. BG was first in 2010. Or whatever year that Nate, I thought it was 2010. I was at that game when Nate got hurt.
It was 2010. Yep.
Yeah. So it was it's a fascinating situation with Campbell, because a labrum. It's another surgery where many years ago it was longer. Now it's not. It's a 4 to 6 months. Guys could guys could get on the field actually in a couple months in non-contact. And by the way, Campbell was taking medal reps. He's wearing a jersey. He's not allowed to do anything really, but he was taking shadow reps where he does some movement, a little bit back and forth, but he can't get hit. He's months away from being able to take contact. But bottom line is, we were able to give you some information on that.
Yeah, and of course we caught up with our Patreon folks. We did a great Chalk Talk interview with Syracuse offensive coordinator Geoff Nixon, who has worn so many hats. We had him on 2 months ago in February because he was the former running backs coach for the Giants when Saquon Barkley was there. So he gave us all these great, inside stories on Saquon Barkley and what it was like to coach him. Well, he's now the Syracuse offensive coordinator. And obviously that was his first year along with head coach Fran Brown and Kyle McCord. The Eagles drafted Kyle McCord. So we got to speak to Kyle McCord's offensive coordinator and get lots of great stories and intel. Now, I put a shortened version on the mainstream platform just so people could get a little bit more interest, a little more information on Kyle McCord. But our Patreon members got all the great stories and how they came to be. And I don't know if people realize that Geoff Nixon and Kyle McCord have known each other for a long, long time. And they went into how that came to be as well. So you really got to get on Patreon to hear these awesome stories and get this great intel. We're trying to get as many, we get as many great guests as we can possibly get. And again, it's patreon.com/InsideTheBirds. Well worth your money because we are supplying some great content on that platform and we continue to do so. All right. Also, really quickly, Adam, I just wanted to thank, I had a lot of people reach out to me personally via Inside the Birds platforms to congratulate me on my new job that I
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Last week. I am the deputy sports editor now at Philly Voice, PhillyVoice.com. I've already started writing stories, and people gave me feedback who are Inside the Birds listeners. They've been also reading my stories on PhillyVoice.com. So I appreciate everybody who reached out. It was kind of overwhelming. There was a lot of people. So I just want to say thank you to all our great listeners. Please continue to read my work at PhillyVoice.com, other PhillyVoice.com writers, and then also continue to read Andrew DeCecco at InsideTheBirds.com too. You can't have enough Eagles coverage, so you're getting it from the Eagles.
By the way, so what is your role, executive editor? Explain what that means.
Yeah, it's deputy sports editor, and what it involves is writing and editing. So there are days. So we have a executive sports editor, a managing sports editor, a great guy named Evan Macy, and so there are days. Obviously, he has off days like anybody else. So when he's off, I'm gonna be more of a main editor and help out as far as organizing the staff, reading stories. I'm learning how to post stories on their website and things of that nature. A lot of behind the scenes stuff. And then there are days that I'm going to write Eagles, but also other Philadelphia sports. We talked about me also kind of bringing a columnist-like nature to the position where I put my opinion based on being a sports writer for 25 years and covering every major sport, which I don't know if a lot of people realize. I covered the Phillies. I covered baseball for the first 6 years of my life. I've covered hockey. I've covered basketball. I was the backup New Jersey Nets beat reporter for
really.
Yeah. When they were good too, when they had Jason Kidd and they had Richard Jefferson and they had Kenyon Martin. Yeah, when they went to the finals 2 years in a row.
Wow.
So, oh man, I had some great stories from that. So yeah, I've covered every sport, and at this point, I like writing about all the sports. So
how about Phillies? Could you do a Phillies column or like a opinion? Yeah, I'd love to read that. Yeah, because they're so frustrating.
Well, listen, they're winning series now, which is good. And yes, when they lose, it can be annoying. But I will say this, that even in a loss where you can find some bad things, I mean, they fought in that last game against the Diamondbacks.
Oh, yeah. It's a fun game to watch.
Came back down 7-1. We wanted to see him pull it out, but you're starting to see some better things come along. And hopefully Ranger Suarez will get healthier and be able to last them, 5 or 6 innings in his future starts.
Exactly.
But, yeah. So, again, just wanted to say I appreciated all the feedback from everybody and to continue to read. Cool. All right, let's get into the Eagles news. Here's something pretty interesting, right? You mentioned the tryout. So let's talk about the 2 transactions that are interesting. At the tryout, they sign a wide receiver. We'll get into him in a second. The undrafted free agent wide receiver, Giles Jackson. I love that name, by the way, Giles Jackson. And they waived Tyrion Davis-Price, the running back that they had all last year. He actually played for them, I think, in that game against the Giants when they played all the backups. He was a former 49er cast-off, so now he's gone. We can't make fun of that part anymore. But aren't you a little surprised that it was him and not, say, like Lou Nichols, who they kind of brought back wasn't with the team nearly as much as Ty Davis Price was. So I thought that was an interesting move.
Yeah, honestly, or they have 6 tight ends on our contract. Do you really need to have 6? That
Right.
could have been one. Sure. Yeah, I definitely. Now Nichols is more of a power back.
Yep.
Ty Davis Price was drafted for the zone system that the Niners have used for Kyle Shanahan's time there. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. And and look, Giles Jackson, you don't get signed to a contract unless you stand out. That's the way it works. Where you're with undrafted rookies, selected veterans who are offered a tryout. When I say it's generally, it's kind of a misnomer. Sometimes they've only been in the league like 4 years, 3 years. They're not even vested, but they call them veterans just because they need to call them something if they're not undrafted rookies. But he was the best one of the bunch, so he got signed to a contract. He's now part of Giles Jackson, who, by the way, started his career at Michigan, but wound up playing 4 years at the University of Washington. We're told he's more of a movement Z receiver. He could also return punts or kicks. He also could play inside. And he's a guy that, again, is under contract. He's part of their 90-man roster.
Don't you feel like the kick return and punt return element is a big part of it? It seems like with Britton Covey still on the market and the way they signed Avery Williams, the way they didn't really give Ainias Smith a shot at the end of last year to do any of that, although he'll definitely get those opportunities in camp this year. But it just seems like they're looking for that now, and that's an important characteristic. I mean, it could be a misread on my part, but I feel like it is something that they're looking at.
But that might happen because he can do it. But the bottom line is they signed him because he stood out. So that's
right.
In fact, one of the best stories I could remember. This wasn't an Eagles story, but this is just how it works. And this is talk about unlikely. You might remember the former Harvard tight end, if you follow the NFL, Cam Brate, who played 9 years for the Buccaneers. So this is how ridiculous his rise was, how great it is. He goes to the Vikings as a undrafted free agent tryout player, doesn't get signed. The Bucs are low on tight ends for the rookie camp, and they're calling around. And he was available, and they didn't think they'd ever be signing him. They're like, Harvard, we're short of tight end. We just need anybody who's available. So they brought him in as a tryout player. He kicks ass. So they signed him to a contract. He gets to OTAs, does well, gets to the veteran camp, does well, gets taken to training camp, and then he plays 9 years and makes a hell of a lot of money. So this is why, look, you never really know what's going to happen. Yeah, the odds are stacked against any tryout player who signs a contract. But the fact that he did well enough to sign a contract, you got to make a note of it.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll see. We will follow closely the career of Giles Jackson, and we say goodbye to Ty Davis Price. Let us talk about the undrafted free agent class. 9 players altogether, which is sort of a normal one. Sometimes they've had more, sometimes they've had fewer. It just kind of depends on where they need the depth. So 5 players on offense, 4 on defense. So let's go through the names here, Adam. One of my favorite names there are 2 names here that I really like.
Yeah.
True football names, right? First one is a running back named Shunderick Powell, 5'9", 180, and he was from Central Arkansas via North Alabama. Started off at North Alley, then he went to Central Arkansas for the last 2 years.
Who is the most famous alum out of Central Arkansas?
Oh, you can't get. Yeah, I know who the most famous. It's Scottie Pippen.
You got it. Good. Yeah. I just was.
Now wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, there was no. I was going to say, didn't Joe Klecko go to? I think that was like a different small Arkansas school.
Yeah. Then he transferred to Temple. Yeah.
Right. Where he started off. Yeah.
Yeah. So Shunderick Powell is 5'9", 180. He's what you call change of pace back. He catches the ball really well out of the backfield. He's a major long shot to make it, but you know what? He can catch the football. We looked into it, but we didn't have any right now. We don't, but maybe we will find out later whether he can block. Because the Eagles really right now, that's the one issue they have at running back with Kenny Gainwell signing with the Steelers. They need to find a running back who can block. That's an issue for them right now.
Yeah. All right. So that's the story of Shunderick Powell, another running back, Adam. This one, 5'11" and 3/8, 212, big, powerful guy. At the combine, he ran a 4.41. I think we talked to Greg Cosell about him. Maybe he was either on camera or off camera, but it's Montrell Johnson, who went to Louisiana Tech and then spent his last 3 years at Florida.
Yeah. So Montrell Johnson is got really good size.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't call him a blazer, though 4'1" for his size is really good, by the way. But he on tape, he's not. It's not like he plays into the 4.3s. But 3 years at U of F, I mean, because some of these guys went to smaller schools that they signed.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a guy at a major university, the SEC. You're talking about guys just under 6 feet at 212. That's really good size. We'll look into. We'll ask Greg if he knows if he could block, because again, that's an issue that they're going to have. Not that this guy would make the team, but it would be nice for the future if they had somebody who would come off their practice squad to be a third back who's got the ability to pass protect.
Yeah,
that to me would be something to look at. He did in 2023. He did catch 30 passes. That's really good, averaging about 8 yards per catch. So you like that. He's a guy that really did not return in college. So a couple of the guys, by the way, they did return, but he's not one of them.
Right. Okay. They are stockpiling. Well, not stock. I don't know if it's an intentional thing, but the Eagles have some really big running backs. I mean, if you think about Saquon's about 230, 235. Obviously, A.J. Dillon, a very big guy, around 240. Montrell Johnson here, 212. If I'm not mistaken, I think Lou Nichols is over 205. Well, he's another big. And
big dude.
I always like when the player or the prospect sort of matches what you want to do schematically. We know that most of the Eagles running game is inside zone. It's duo. They like to just run the rock right up the middle behind their big dudes like Landon Dickerson, or they'll pull Mailata. Sometimes they'll pull Johnson. They obviously had a very big right guard last year in Mekhi Becton. They won't be as big, but no matter what, they've always ran the ball well up the middle. And now you've got real downhill running backs. And if this kid Johnson can stick along, he fits that profile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got good size. So that's of the 5 players they signed from offense. 2 are running backs and 2 are receivers. The next guy, I'm very interested in, because I get he's played at a small school, and the level of comp, as one scouting source told me, not very good, but he stood out. 4.0 student, like really smart. This is Darius Cooper out of Tarleton State, first team AP FCS All-American. Put up major numbers. He's not a speedster, tough after the catch, put up big numbers. Yes, against lower level of competition, but Darius Cooper's a guy that is. You look at him, you go, wow, he had some huge games. I get it. It's the Houston Christians of the world. We know that school very well.
Sure.
Jalix Hunt went there. Who's ever heard of Southern Utah? Probably not. Now, here's a school that's, if you're old enough, this may mean something to you. Abilene Christian. Who went to Abilene Christian? See if you get it without looking.
Abilene. I feel like it's a cornerback.
Nope, Wilbert Montgomery.
Oh, of course, Wilbert Montgomery.
Yeah, man. My favorite Eagles running back of all time.
By the way, just to correct myself from before, it wasn't Klecko. It was Mark Gastineau, who went to East Central Oklahoma.
Yes.
Not Arkansas, but one of those small schools. But go ahead.
Yeah, so Darius Cooper is a fascinating player, 6'0", 190. And he's got a good build and very, very competitive. Played 5 years at Tarleton State. So this is a guy that for practice squad, and honestly, now he'd have to blow it up in training camp in the preseason. But when you look at it, it's A.J. Brown, it's Dotson, it's Smith. Johnny Wilson's the blocking receiver. He doesn't really do anything else than that. We'll see if he can this offseason. Nye Smith is no lock to make it. He's only a slot receiver. So the back end of the roster, the 5th receiver or their first guy off the practice squad, it's wide open, man. If Darius Cooper kicks butt, certainly practice squad, and who knows?
Absolutely. By the way, do you know what state Tarleton State is in?
I don't know. I know he's from St. Louis, but I don't know. Missouri.
It's in Texas.
Is that where it is? Okay.
I think Stephenville, Texas might be where Kevin Cobb is from too, or he's somewhere in that area. All right.
Okay.
That's Darius Cooper. Next player we're going to talk about, a wide receiver / punt returner. There we go again with the punt return abilities. Taylor, is it Morin? I thought it was Taylor Morin.
Yes, Morin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so obviously, when you look at this player, you know that there. You look at his numbers and everything. I was told he's a slot receiver, and he's also small, 5'10", between 170 175, depending on who's weighing him. But out of Wake Forest, he's just it's interesting because, again, now he also, by the way, he's a really good punt returner. With that job open, maybe he pushes for a spot here. Maybe he can do that. But yeah, he had a ton of punt returns and really good at it, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
In his career, he was there for he was actually there 6 years at Wake Forest, but played 5.
Right.
76 punt returns for over 800 yards, averaging over 10 yards per return, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a kickoff return, only return one. He's not a kickoff return. He's a punt returner. Right. He's also small, and he's a slot receiver. So it's on your point. Someone's got a punt return. And Anaya Smith can do it. They have a couple guys who can do it, but again, with Britton Covey not signed, that job's wide open right now.
100%. No, he'll be a guy to keep the eye on. Taylor Moore and maybe projects like a slot receiver with 5'10", 170.
He is. That's what I'm told.
He's definitely slot, right? Yeah. Now it's interesting because Joseph Nagata is coming to my mind about there. It seems like they're moving away from the 6'2", 210 guy who has trouble separating, and now they're bringing in 6'0", 190. 5'10", 170. We'll see if these guys, how that works out for them as far as maybe getting lighter guys who might separate better.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way: running after the catch, he's good. If he puts on mass on his frame, maybe he could play the Z. But he projects, I'm told, absolutely for the slot.
Mm-hmm.
So far 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and the next guy, I don't, there's no way to know this, but when you look at Holland Pierce's size.
Right.
And he's a longtime starter for Rutgers and Greg Schiano. And he was less than half of the guys they signed were combine invites, but he was Holland Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
He's 2 years starting at right, 2 years starting at left. Massive human being. Well, Andrew DeCecco was at the Rutgers Pro Day, was he not?
He was, and he wrote about this guy. Yeah.
Awesome.
6'8", 340, Adam. I mean, listen, I think
6'8", don't forget the 3 A's.
Well, so he's almost 6'9". You're right.
Yes.
With a wingspan of 88 and a quarter. I mean,
I don't know what the record is, but that's crazy.
I joke about guys who can scratch their knees without bending over.
Yeah, right.
Toenails without bending over. This is crazy.
Now you're going to ask, why was he not drafted? Right. Well, not a great athlete.
Yep.
He's got to get stronger. He's got to fill out. It's one thing to be massive at college and get away with it, but they'll figure out what they want him to look like. But he's a project who's got upside. Again, he started a ton of games. You love that, by the way. And coached by Greg Schiano, former Bucs head coach.
Yep.
So you like this. This seems like a stout project of many projects that they have, quite frankly, with Cameron Williams and Miles Hitton. So there you go.
Yeah, they're stockpiling some massive human beings at that position. I do feel like of all the offensive guys we went through, Adam, if there's one guy, if we were to handicap it, this would probably be the guy because you just can't coach size like that. But one thing Jeff Stoutland can do is coach talent up. And if you can get a modicum amount of improvement of this guy and some refinement to him, and you feel like you've got something there, he's a tough guy to want to waive. You might want to try to pass him through and stick him on the team. They've done this before and just develop him.
Well, see, here's the thing. We mentioned Miles Hinton, a 6th-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron Williams, is a major project. Okay, that's the word in the scouting community. Then you got Kenyon Green, who's a reclamation project here. He's a guy that they love for the draft. They had a 1st-round grade on when he came out, and he got benched in Houston, and the Eagles made the trade for him. So Stout and the Eagles staff, they've got a big challenge ahead. They've got a lot of guys who need to be developed.
Yeah, Stout may have to put some overtime in those office hours. You teach the class, but you know how like at the big colleges, the professors who have those they got their office hours where you got to schedule them if you ever want one-on-one time. That was like for me at Penn State. I would have a class of 300 people. If I was struggling with something, I couldn't raise my hand in a class of 300 people and be like, can you re-explain material science? No, you'd have to go visit in the office hours. But there are so many projects here on the offensive line. Stoutland may have to spend some extra time after with each one, just grooming them, working with them individually.
Again, 6'8" at the combine, 6'8" and 3/8, 341. Arm length, ridiculous at 36. Ideally, you want 34 or longer. He's got 36, which is unheard of. And 88 and a quarter wingspan, which is insane. That's basically an NBA player. So
that's crazy.
Guy's 6'8", barely, almost 6'9". So that's cool. That this is a good project for them. Really is.
All right, we'll move on to the 4 defensive ones in a second. I just have a really funny story before we say another thing. I was trying to get some more intel, Adam, as we always do on this class. So I sent the list of these names to a friend of mine who's in personnel for a team in the AFC. And I said, what do you think of these names? Does anybody really move the needle for you? And the response I got was, I really love their Ty Robinson pick in the 4th round. And I said, so does that mean you don't really like this UDFA class? And he's just like, listen,
yeah,
this is not a knock. I mean, nobody's UDFA class really pops.
I mean, they weren't drafted. So, I mean, there's a reason why they weren't drafted. Right.
I just thought it was funny that his response was, well, hey, I really like the Ty Robinson pick. By the way, this team had a 3rd round grade on Ty Robinson. So that's good to know because the Eagles got him in the 4th round. I thought that was funny. All right, before we get on to the defensive names, why don't we? No, not why don't we? You are going to, and you're going to love us for doing it. Hear a great word from our friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schiller, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
All right, listen, we tell you all the time, stop into Sky Motor Cars and tell them Adam just sent you. You'll get a great deal. But honestly, it's hard to beat whatever deal they already have because they're an amazing car shopping experience. That includes whether you're buying or trading in, just trying to get information, browsing, looking to see what inventory is like. It is a real hard thing these days to try to buy a car. Nobody has inventory. You got to customize it. You keep getting told to go home and, customize your car, then go back and then order it. And then if you're lucky, you get it in like 8 months. So not at Sky Motor Cars. Wonderful experience. And we urge everybody to check them out. SkyMotorCars.com if you can't make it into their Westchester office.
See their whole inventory. Yep, exactly.
Absolutely. All right, so the Eagles, I thought that they were going to be a little bit more, just for camp body's sake, aggressive in the off-ball linebacker market, and they still could bring some guys in before the whole teams get there, and they have like the 3rd and the 4th stringers. But they did sign one off-ball linebacker, kind of a hybrid guy in Lance Dixon, and I'll admit, I know he started off at PSU, but that name didn't register on my PSU radar at first.
Yeah, he's under 6'2", he's 230. He played at Penn State, then West Virginia, and 1 year at Toledo. Jason Candle, of course, is here, and he's a good friend. In fact, they signed 2 Toledo players. It's comical. We'll get to the safeties. I love the name, but Lance Dixon. Yeah, look, if you look at the situation here at inside backer, it's Bond, it's Trott Jr. Dean obviously come back from major knee injury. He won't be back till obviously well past the season starts. Jihad Campbell's coming back from major shoulder surgery. So right now, guys who could practice in their off-season program are Bond, Trott Jr., Mondon, Can, and this guy Dixon. Yeah, you're right. They're kind of light. They actually could use a veteran is what they really need by the time training camp starts. It would be nice if they sign one. There are plenty of them out there. It's a buyer's market. Once you get past the draft, you're looking at a veteran deal. But there's some veterans out there at inside backer, and what you really want is if you're going to sign a veteran, you want a guy who's played in an odd man front. You want a guy that knows the system.
Yep,
those are the kind of guys that are out there.
100%. Actually, Adam, it wouldn't surprise me if by the start of training camp that they signed more than one, maybe even 2 veterans, which they've done in the past, because you're going to need bodies. These are the positions that get hurt the most too. You get 1 or 2 of those at camp, and then all of a sudden you find yourself really shorthanded. So,
who's out there? You know who's out there at that position?
Eric Wilson. I don't know who.
No, Kaiser White.
Oh, that would be an interesting one. All right, I was close. I was right along the line of former Eagle undersized linebacker. So there you go.
Yeah, who had a decent run with them. I look at the rest of the list. It's a bunch of guys who've had pretty significant injury problems, special teams players, and guys like Shaq Thompson's near the end of their career, at the end of his career. Zach Cunningham, who's he's well into his career. Juwan Bentley, by the way, was cut by the Patriots. He was that was a Belichick guy. So they're again, it's a buyer's market. There are players out there, but he would fit. A lot of these guys have played in a system like this.
Yeah, they need bodies. So I'd be shocked if they didn't continue to address that spot. Let's move on to the next name, because you and I think both got kind of similar intel. This is a guy who may stand a chance to impress the coaching staff. We'll see if he can make it onto the team and latch on. That's a great name. You're right. Absolutely great name. Safety from Toledo, Maxon Hook. Love that name.
Yeah, so basically you keep 4 safeties. It's highly unlikely he'll make it if everybody's healthy, because right now, and by the way, Hook is the other Toledo player. He did go to the combine. Okay, he was invited. 6 foot 1/2 inch, 202 at the combine. Did run a 4.55, which is not good enough. It's a little slower than you'd like. Long-time starter. Here's the thing with him. It's Brown, it's Blankenship, it's Makuba, it's Tristan McCullum, really his only special teams player. Lewis Seen, the Eagles want to take a look at. Andre Sam was with them last year, didn't make the team, was on the practice squad, as we know. So it's going to be hard for him. But listen, it was hard for Reed Blankenship when the Eagles signed him. And he was an undrafted free agent, made it. And now he's a stud. So if he could get past Lewis Seen, Andre Sam, Tristan McCullum, now we're talking. Now you could be that 4th safety. That's, if you want to project, how does he make it? That's how. Those are the guys he's got to beat out.
Right. I wonder if he has any nickel versatility at all at 6 foot 202.
Haven't heard that. We'll ask, but haven't heard that.
Right. And then again, they continue to hit safety. Kid out of Oregon who started off at Duke for 3 years, transferred to Oregon. Brandon Johnson, a little smaller than Maxon Hook.
Yeah, 5'11", 180. Only the 1 year at Oregon, school that they know well. So yeah, you're adding another safety there in the back. I do find it interesting that they keep bringing these safeties in. Now, it's always good to have 1 or 2 on your practice squad of developmental type. But again, it's Brown, Blankenship, Makuba are the 3 locks to make the roster. But then after that, 4 safety it's up in the air. It is, because again, Seen hasn't played football in a while.
Right.
You have to take a look at him. And Andre Sam was not drafted, and Hook was not drafted. So you put Brandon Johnson in there, but Hook, to me, based on what we were told, he just what's funny that, I mean, their styles are different, but the knock on Blankenship was he couldn't run, didn't run well enough, didn't have good enough foot speed.
Right.
But the guy he processes well, he makes plays, tone setter, hits, tackles. Super Bowl champion starter. No one's challenging him. So it's fascinating, man. It's you never know with one of these guys who you weren't expecting to make it. TJ Edwards was another guy. Nobody thought he can do it.
Right.
He didn't run very well, but he worked his butt off, became a much better player. Not that he was ever fast, but got a little bit better foot speed, and he made it. So I think with all these safeties on there, they're telling you that they're looking for 4 safety or 1 competition for it.
Yeah. And by the way, maybe his body type at 5'11", 180 is more safety / hybrid nickel than even Maxon Hook at 6 foot 202, because 5'11", 180 has that kind of feel. You can be a shorter, lighter guy on the interior. Yeah.
We'll see if either of them have versatility to play nickel, because and again, it's a different position. It's nickel, and safety, and corner.
Thank you, Vic.
Exactly.
Right, the last guy, another well-sized cornerback. This is BJ Mays. He's 6 foot and 195 pounds. I feel like, I guess we have to get used to this. There's not a single guy we've talked about that played at the same school from start to finish, other than Pierce. Maybe I think he's the only one who was at the same school the whole time. Mays started off 2 years at Incarnate Word. He may have been a teammate of Cam Ward's, who knows? And 1 year at UAB, and then one at his last year at Texas A&M.
Yeah, of the defensive players, yeah. So 3 of them. Well, actually, 3 of them played at multiple schools. So,
right.
Yeah, Mays has got they run him off at 6 foot. He might be at like maybe a hair under 6 feet, but 195. And that's the thing. Now, when you look at corner, right, in terms of pushing for a roster spot, for lists this season, it's Ringo, it's Adoree Jackson, assuming Jackson is who they think he is. Like, he'd still play. He's signed for very little money, so he's not a lock to make the roster. But if it performs, he's going to push Ringo, and it could start. And Quinyon, of course, who starts. Ricks is still on the team. Perry Nickerson is nickel. Mac McWilliams is inside, outside. He's outside and nickel. And honestly, Tariq Castro Fields right now, they're kind of light on the back end of the quarterback position.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, you need usually when you get to the third and fourth string, sometimes when you get light, you start just playing a base defense look and you don't have to worry about having a nickel out there. But so you need like 3, 6, 7, 8. You need about 10 corners to go into camp with, right? If you include, I'm sorry, 10 corner / nickels, since we're being very, technical about this, because your first team and your second team nickels are 6 in nickel package are 6 corners right there. And then your third and fourth at the beginning of camp, you need at least 2 for each team. You can mix and match a little bit. So that's why you say somewhere between 8 and 10 corners is what you usually bring into camp.
Yeah, well, the outside group is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then of course 8, Mac McWilliams, because he should be able to play both.
Right.
Nickel and outside corner.
Right. And then Mays, right?
Right. Mays, yeah. And then AJ Woods, who's got some time in the NFL.
Right.
He figures to be nickel. But man, the back end of the cornerback group, honestly, for the future, think about this. Jackson's in a 1-year deal. This is the third year of Ringo's 4-year deal. They don't have a lot for the future corner, man. Right now, Mac McWilliams, well, again, it depends on where you play him.
Right.
And Coop DeGene, I mean, are they still – we know that their plan still is for him to play nickel, but they're kind of light for the future at corner.
They are. And it'll be – so the McWilliams kid will be interesting to follow where he plays, if he winds up as a backup nickel, if they like him. Do they move Coop? They feel more comfortable by year 3 of Cooper's career, moving him outside if need be, and then playing McWilliams in the slot. These are all – listen, they're just giving themselves optionality right now. And let's just find the best players, the best talent, see where they fit, and then we worry about that stuff when we have to.
Yeah, so, again, the back end at the secondary is interesting. Oh, by the way, they did not sign a D tackle, or they did not sign an edge rusher.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, that's surprising. Yeah, let's put it this way. They're going to want Gabe Hall to push at D tackle, right? They've got a lot of guys for this season. This season at edge, it's going to be hard for an undrafted free agent to make it, because you've got Huff, could move his contract. He's here. Uche, 1-year deal. Patrick Johnson's back as a really only special teams player, but Ken Rush. Powell Ryland is a guy they're excited about as a sub-package rusher. Who they hope will push for one of the probably at least 5 spots, maybe 6 if they keep Ojulari, Hunt, of course, Smith. But they're and O'Shawn Mathis, so they got plenty, man. This Mike Gill asked me this on Friday. To me, the edge competition for the backup jobs is interesting. There's so many ways it could go.
Right, absolutely. By the way, true or false? Do you still think the Eagles add a veteran defensive tackle before the start of camp?
Before the start of training camp in late July?
I'm in the camp where I think they definitely do. I'm not saying the guy's going to make the team. I'm just saying I think they're going to add a veteran.
Well, they didn't last year, which is really surprised me. But they went young. They proved they can handle it with Fletcher's retirement.
Yeah.
They didn't even have Byron Young, don't forget. He was claimed off waivers later.
That's right. You had that great stat, by the way, about weren't the Eagles the only team in the NFL last year to go into the season without a vested vet as a defensive tackle?
Yep. I think actually on the entire roster of no, I'm sorry, D tackle. I'm sorry. I mean D tackle, correct. Yes.
Yeah.
They didn't have a vested veteran D tackle.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, no, what I meant is their defensive tackle roster, even whoever they had on the practice squad. They didn't have any vested veterans, at least for a while. So, yeah, because Booker's not vested yet. Ojomo, of course, is not. Jordan Davis is not. Jalen Carter's not. Byron Young is not. Gabe Hall's not.
Right.
That's unheard of. That's what I meant by what's that?
Especially for the Eagles.
Yeah,
They didn't have a veteran defensive tackle on the team. I mean, it's maybe the first time since I've been covering them. 25 years.
No, I know this. With the group that clubs looked at last spring, there were a lot of them, but they were kind of when you get past the draft, there's kind of like a reason why guys don't sign. Right. Either A, they turn down offers because they don't want to go to OTAs, or B, they're coming off major injury, they're too old, and you'd rather. In fact, if you're the club like the Eagles, you just want to take a look at your young guys and then make a decision whether you're going to sign somebody. Right. Now, this going forward here, before we get out of here, okay, what do they have now? Ojomo, Davis, Carter, Young, Booker, who did a nice job in limited time, Gabe Hall we mentioned, and Ty Robinson, who they're very excited about. So do they really need to sign anyone? Because Booker backs up Davis at nose. We'll see about Byron Young. This is a big spring for him. First full off season with the Eagles. Ty Robinson, who we mentioned, and Gabe Hall didn't really contribute, but it's got great length. I mean, would it behoove them to sign a D tackle? Sure, but they don't need to.
You're right. It's not, man. I was just more going off what they historically do, but you're right. Last year they did not.
So. We didn't do it. Yeah.
All right. Great stuff. Awesome stuff. That is the UDFA class for the Eagles. And that is this edition of Inside the Birds. As always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds. Be sure to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation.